Let's drop you down in this scenario here. You just kill this player. Well, what do you do after? Since you're the entry-fragger and the score is 8-2, well, just one opening kill might not be enough. And by that logic, default B setup is 2 players. And since the AWP was on the corner, the logical spot to place the last B player is either coffins to help the AWP with utility, since backside is useless for this, or in CT as the second line of defense. Well, as the entry-fragger, this is how you have to approach your role and goal for every single round. Today we'll break down how to actually play as an entry-fragger and give you all the most in-depth guide into entry-fragging possible. Enjoy your masterclass to entry-fragging today. Well, before we can dive deep into everything about entry-fragging, we have to ask the most important question. What even is entry-fragging? Well, like most roles, it kind of says in the name what it is, entry-fragger. Since this is a role you only find on the T side, and the whole point is to be the first player out on site and attempt to get an opening. But the main goal is to create space, and yes, you can even create space while dying. But for the new players, this role might sound awesome. What is it not to like having an opportunity to have so much impact? Well, this is the role where you will look the worst. Usually when teams cuts players, it's either the IGL or entry-fragger to be the first player cut, since these are the most selfless roles out there. But even though your stats might not look good, you are important. Now you know how the role is played and what the goal is for the role, we need to learn more about entry-fragging. As an entry-fragger, you need to make decisions on the fly. So what do I mean with this? Well, if we circle back to the example I had in the intro. After you kill the first player, you yourself need to make the tough decision to continue to push or to fall back and be happy with one opening kill. And this is the most textbook decision an entry makes. There are many more. And why this role is so hard to play are due to the decision you make will win or lose you the game or round. So how can you ensure yourself that you make the correct decision every time? Well, I will give you all the information you need to take into consideration to make sure you will shine in this role. The first thing to think about is this: are you a man up or man down? Do the T side have more players than the CT? If yes, then after getting an opening kill, it might be smart to fall back and be happy and stop. Yes, you can be a man down or up even before the entry finds the first kill himself. Since the entry is not going to get the first kill of the round, but a kill to take the bomb site, it's very important there's opening kills and entry-fragger's role. So make sure you don't confuse entry kill with opening kill as the same concept. Well, if you're a man down, you as the entry might want to try to find one more kill to put your team back into the game. And the reason I'm so vague with this is that this is the most open concept and discussed idea around entry-fragging, since this all depends on the match you play and all the information you have and your style of entry-fragging. The next variable to consider is map control. How much map control does your team even have? Let's say it's a 4v4 in Inferno. The CTs are playing a 2-2 setup in the default way, while your team have gotten full top mid control, one lurker on B, and you coming from apps with one more player with you. Well, your team has gotten a lot of map control, meaning if you die or win the first fight, your team can 95% of the time trade, so you should try to entry. Well, if we circle back, now you are solo apps, while the last 2 players towards A are coming from long. Well, now as the entry, your team does not have the proper map control to be able to trade. This still doesn't mean you can't swing to get an entry, but let's say you get the first kill. It will now be better to wait for your team to get closer to the bomb site before peeking out with them. Map control is a crucial component to entry-fragging. While information is all about what information you have from the round and from the game, this is a difference. So let's start with the information you have from the round. This is everything that happens in the round. This can be if a teammate spots a player somewhere, you yourself spots or hears a player, and more to determine how the enemy play. This is what you want to pay the most attention to when entering for your teammates. But there are some information you can get from the whole game. Let's say the B player loves to boost or do a weird setup, or always playing backside and never in CT. Well, you need to keep these small things like this in mind when going out as well, but more of a second thought. If you didn't know, a lot of entry-fragging is based on calculated guesses. Let's put you in a scenario to show you. You're going to enter B's at Mirage. Where would you look and why? Well, to help you with this, you need to understand defaults on Mirage. The most common defaults are 2-1-2 and 1-3-1 setups. In the 2-1-2 default on B site, these are the most common spots that CTs will play from. While in the 1-3-1 setup, these are the most common spots for the solo B players to play from. And now you can understand why the defaults are so important, since this will tell you where the enemy will be. But what even is a default? Well, this is the way the enemy will set up their teammate to cover most of the map as a CT, or to achieve some positional advantages if needed. This is the easiest way of explaining it, and you as the entry can abuse this by understanding how the default is played. So I want to show you guys a play I usually go for if I have a good spawn to get an entry early, and that is this play. where I will smoke middle on Inferno, pop a flash through, and then push long. But how can I do this? I know that the default Inferno mid is played by having 2 players in middle, 1 long and 1 short. The flash will blind the short player, and on long the player usually has an op, meaning a jumping SMG will be harder to deal with. And these are just one of many examples where understanding how the enemy plays and our setup will help you improve as an entry. But how do you know what default the enemy plays? Well, you need to start the round with a scouting phase. And this will tell you how the enemy plays. And here's the fun part. The scouting phase is the default that T plays, where you and your teammate will just scout to figure out how the enemy plays, and then you take this information into consideration when entering site. And now to even help you more, I made these designs that will show you quickly the most common defaults that the enemy plays. Where while they're on the screen, you can see what type of setup it is, and then the blue dots are the most common spots, while all the yellow dots are where they could be. To keep all of the design I have showed in this video and will show more, join my new Discord server. I will try to make it the best place in the world for CS analysts and aspiring players. We will have nail lineups, strats, players POV and more. It's a work in progress, but I would love to have you guys there so you can come with some feedback. Well, what makes you a good entryfragger? Well, let me show you 2 different players. One hates being first out, always wants to compare KD and loves to save. Let's think of this as Jame. While player 2 plays selfless, does not always check the scoreboard and just wants to win. Let's say this is Kinder. Who of these 2 do you think want to be an entryfragger? Well, you want player 2, and that's because he got the correct mindset that an entry needs. And this is all because of the mindset you have as a player. The entry will usually not have the best stats, since you are running into the void that is the bomb site to try to get kills and create space. And 6 out of 10 times you die with no kills, and 2 out of 10 times you get a kill and die, and the last 2 times you will get a kill and survive. By the numbers, you will have 10 entries before an 8 on the scoreboard. And you need to be mentally strong to not let this affect the way you play. And it's good to know this before jumping into the role. And in the end, mindset is king. When you are told to entry onto site or entry in a set spot of the map, you can't let the fear of death or bad stats stop you. And as an entry, you need the mindset of putting your teammate above yourself and a win. After thinking it's more important to win the match rather than looking good when opening the scoreboard and losing. An aspect of entryfragging almost no guides on YouTube goes into our utility and understanding of utility. And no, we will not do a deep dive into what utility does and how to use them, but we will rather talk about how they are thrown, and this is key for an entryfragger. We talked about defaults, and there are 2 ways of understanding what defaults being utilized by the CTs. It's sound cues and utility. And let's now dive into the whole concept of utility. Let's go back to Inferno B site, and here the CTs are setting up a swing where one player will go and flash for the other to peek banana. And you kill this player peeking banana, while the flash will indicate where the other B players are. So here you will use this to your advantage if you're entering site after, since this gives away the CT's position. So you will just have to swing coffins, back fountain and CT, since these are the 3 only spots this player can be in. Or let's go in Mirage, and this app smoke is thrown. Well, this tells you that there is a player under window or short. So when the flash drops down and you are entering, you will first check under window, then short, and then behind McDonald's, since this one smoke gives away the position of the CT. And this concept is important to master. So how do you master it? Well, by just learning the CT default utility. And after that, ask yourself, where would you go after you're thrown that piece of utility? Since this is a good way of understanding how the enemy will think. Let's hop into game and I can show you. So we're now in game, guys, and I just want to show you quickly, like with this utility thing, like this is how easy you can practice it. If let's say somebody smokes like this, where would you go? Do you think like they will go like this? Well, some might, right? But usually when you smoke this, it means you're trying to get away, right? Like this. And as an entryfragger, you have to understand these type of like behaviors. Where would you go after you do something, right? Like for instance, let's say, you know, you peek out, you get a kill, you flash, and then you can hear the guy run until now. Now it stops. Well, you kind of heard him right here, right? If he stops now, it would be very dumb of him to stop and walk like this, because you know, open, 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 open if that happens, right? So this probably means he stopped and walked up like this and hid. And there's stuff like that you need to understand. It's even easier to do this with banana, right? Because usually a lot of teams would start by doing nades like these. That's a very bad one, and Molotov. And if you don't get this very like default peak like this, you have to understand these guys have run away. And there are like 3 places you run to. You run to CT, coffins, and here, fountain. And as an entryfragger, you can use this. Because when you're up here and you see the nades and shit fly, you peek like this, and then we clear. Now you know it's not here. You will then be peeking here, CT, clear this, and then clear this, and your job will be to clear sight while the other guys will clear this or smoke this and go. And that's what I mean with utility usage. You just have to understand it like this, and in that way. Like understand when something is thrown, where would they go. So what even is routing, and why as an entryfragger do you need to know anything about this? Well, let's zoom out and get a picture of a top down. And I will draw out, let's say 3 different routes. If you were to entry, which of these would you pick and why? Well, as the entry, you need to understand how a route can affect your way of entering. So let's start by going through all the 3 routes I just drew, and you can see how this actually works in game. So usually the job as an entryfragger starts at this point on overpass, right? Because now you're entering into sight, right? You're trying to get this first kill. And I drew some routing as you saw. And if you like move up, and we can like overlay, if I move up like this, you can kind of like overlay the routes here. I'm going to just draw them for you. But these are not just the routes, right? You have to understand how you use the routes, right? Because a routing you take have to be good, right? So let's say your teammate have done default smokes, which is here. I can't believe I missed that. It's here and here. Right, your routing job now is to clear backside and here. So if you're coming from here, right, you need to first of all do this. And then you want to be close to this now. So you can clear this for your teammate. They will start coming out. And you can now clear here, clear here. Your other teammates, well, they will swing and they will clear behind, right? So even though you're the entry and you're supposed to clear everything behind, you only need to focus this, because these guys and the guys from long will clear this for you. Well, on the other side, if you're from long, right, and you still have the default smokes, let me just throw them quickly. Right, if you still have the default smokes, what you want to do is to clear this, clear backside, clear this corner, a lot of people likes this, clear here, and now clear this, clear this. This side, like coming from here, you have to clear more, right? And this is something you have to understand when you do entries. You have to understand what you clear and why, right? Same with if you come from here now. If you come from here, you need to do a more focus on clearing here, backside. And you can just hold, let these guys run. When they run out, you run like this. And pretend their smokes are here to focus this. And only this corner and everything else will be cleared. And that's like the whole concept of routing, is to pick the best routing so you can clear what you need. Since we talked about routing, we need to dive into the topic around this, map knowledge. And you might ask what this is. Well, you need to understand where to look when going onto site, and how to position yourself to make sure you're clearing one angle at a time. And as entry, you can't clear everything, but it's good to know where to look. And just this knowledge will allow you to know where to peek, how to pre-fire, where to pre-aim, and so much more. And here we were supposed to hop into a pre-fire match, but I rather walked into Inferno and kind of explained it there. So I want to show you like the whole concept of pre-fire maps, like what they do. So I'm just gonna like pretend we're playing one and we'll show you what, like, because they have bots everywhere people can be. And it's very good as an entryfragger to understand where people can be. So you can peek here now, in case there's a guy close. Now you can peek out here, peek this guy. Now you can hold this for a little bit. When you get here, you want to be close, peek, nope. Peek the corner, nope. Peek close, no, nobody. Peek here, nobody. Peek here, this corner, nobody here, nobody's on top. When you get up here, you want to perfectly pre-fire this guy. This corner. Close here in this box, here, nope. In behind here, behind here, behind here. Now you want to go here, go close, nobody. Go up here, nothing. And it's like, when you peek this, right, you've cleared everything else so you can peek this. But if you want to peek like this, well, now you've cleared nothing, right? That's what you have to know as an entry, right? So now I want to clear this. Now I want to clear this. Clear close here. Clear deep here. Clear here. Clear, clear. Now you want to swing like this. Clear this part here completely. This part. Drop down. Clear. 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 Cleared. And cleared. That's kind of how these type of maps work. It's not here, like we could set up bots and you could practice, but I will have a link for you so you can test it out and try it out. Because it's very important that you as an entryfragger know where to look at like the most common spots. As an entry, your goal is to create space. But can you create too much space? Well, around 3 years ago, I took a course by one of the greatest entries in the world at the time, Rush. And he said something crucial: no matter how good you are as an entryfragger, you need to learn when to stop. So let's use Mirage A site, and you as the entry has gotten full site control. What do? Well, most entries would at this point push into CT spawn, try to catch the B rotation. But here's the issue: you have created too much space. Do you need to take full CT control? Most holes are lost due to over-peaking, and this problem lies with the entries. They will take site and then over-peak, even though it was not needed, and lose the round. And for many, this is hard to understand, like where on the map can you over-peak? So I've created for all the maps a color-coded map to show you all where an entry can go where the overpeak starts, that you can find in my Discord server, and let's hop into a private match so I can show you how this works in game. And the whole concept of that is, as you as entryfragger, right? If you run this route, right, it's smoked, and you get here. You have to make a decision, right? The bomb is planted, you guys have sight. Do you want to push down and try to get this opening, or do you want to stay alive? And a lot of entryfraggers, you see this in pro plays and everything, they would just push, go here, and die. And you get the info, oh, you saw 2 guys here, right? But if this was, let's say, a 4v4, you made it now, even though you get the info, you made it 3v4, and that's not ideal. And this overpushing chart, if we like fly up, oh, I can't, okay. It kind of tells you where you should go and where you should think about stopping. And on Mirage, I drew that this part right here is fine, but walking down here is quite dangerous. Because, you know, you have to clear this, you have to clear this, you have to clear this, and more. And you don't need this, right? You can just sit here, get a teammate to play here, you play like on top of here, and you just get this kill together. And it's all about not over pushing, and this is how it works in everything, absolutely everything, right? If you enter and your job is to take jungle, you can go here. You don't need to go further, you don't need to go here and try to fight this guy, or the guy jumped in the window, or the guy staying here. You only need to stay here, you don't have to over push this. Well, a key role is to learn from the best, and I asked on Reddit and many names came up, but I will focus on 2 of my favorite entryfraggers at the moment, and that is Donk and Electronic. We will look into how they play when entering, how they make the decision when entering, and how to think as an entry. The enemy are on a lower buy, but this still doesn't mean you can't learn anything from a round as an entryfragger. When a team is on a lower buy, they have a tendency to start to stack one of the sites they want to play in, and to know how to enter versus this is crucial. In the run-up, we can see that Spirit do not have a lot of utility, so to take this site, Donk needs to be sharp. So how will he do it? Well, as we can see, he's not the first player to go to apps, but by going out he will be one of the first, and here by walking through apps, he uses this to just try to spot any players and make a map in his mind of where the enemy can be. And here he spots a player towards backside and bench, and here by going out, his goal is to find that player. But he can't just run out without clearing anything. So he will, as the first player, quickly spots all the places he need to look where he in one way he kinda don't think there are anyone there, but you still have to check in case. But we can see he's doing this fast, since if he were to die, we have 3 more teammates to trade. So the only goal for Donk has to be fast out and create space. He jumps down from balcony while clearing jail and bench, before crossing to site finding the first player. There you can see the speed the entry might need. It took him 5 seconds to clear from apps to find the first kill. Here with 40 seconds left, we are entering the phase we called mid-round. And here the goal again is map control. And we can see Spirit doing this in the best way possible by taking middle and short control. And as the entry, this should mean you are up next. Donk will use his position as the first player to clear most of short and ladder room alone, before then taking site. And the routing from short to site is very weird, and we can see Donk using the walls on left and right side as a cover to be able to peek and not be seen by bench, or move to the other to peek and not be seen by backside. And the crucial position he will be taking is something on the fly you as an entry needs to be aware of that you can do, and his teammate behind him will try not to line up and play the other wall to cover what he is not covering. After he spots the player backside, he will have to make a decision, to either take bench and jail or backside and market. And here we can see the backside player has vanished, so instead of guessing where he is, Donk decides to rather focus front of site, so his apps player can be able to safely jump down from apps. And here he finds the first kill on site, before then trying to take backside before dying. Let's now look at A site entry. Furia starts the game in a 1-3-1, and as we know, this means one player from Furia will be on site, while the 2 other will be towards stairs and jungle. So how will Donk use this to his advantage? Well, Spirit starts by smoking off with these smokes, before Donk runs behind the Molotov, and this is done to clear backside and other spots before he runs out, as well as Molotoving here to make sure no player can swing the smoke. After he sees the nade from CT, he knows one is CT, but the Molotov could have been thrown from anywhere. So here to be sure he will run out, and as soon as a side smoke lands, he uses it as cover to clear under palace, and then just at the right time he turns his head and is able to find the first kill on the entry. Perfect way in knowing what angles might be able to peek you from. He pushes into CT, but waits for a flash before swinging. If there were no flashes, he would have stayed, since he knows how important it is for him to keep this part under Spirit's control. Donk wants to help his team take A from middle, so how do you clear this out properly? Well, Spirit starts by smoking off CT, to make sure Donk only need to worry about the door towards camera and sight. And here he flashes into the door. It's a bad flash, to try to force any VP players away, and then he perfectly pre-aims the left side of the door. As soon as he runs out to the door, he will be able to aim in the left side where VP has one player. And here he tags the player down, but instead of tunnel visioning onto him, that a lot of players do, he stops in the door not to peek out by heaven and clear every single angle that can peek him from there, just to make sure he's allowed to swing safely out to kill the player he tagged. But stop, why after spotting this player did he not go to kill him? Well, his goal and route was not to go heaven. It was to make space towards site and A main, since Spirit just lost a player there. And heaven is a different player's job. His goal is to create space in main. And that's why he ignored the player in heaven and instead runs A main and kills 2 players swinging him. And something as entry you need to understand is these type of rounds. Even though you spot a guy to the left, you have to go to the right to try to do your job, while the second and third guy, they will clear the other guy. Dom could have died to the heaven guy. As long as he's traded, it's fine, even though it might suck. Let's now look at B entry by Dunk. Dunk is going from con, which I think is the best route for any entry fraggers to take when it comes to Anubis, since it's easy to clear angles properly, without needing a lot of smokes and other things to do so. And here we are seeing him from con clearing everything out properly that he can. But the interesting part is when he swings out. Most would be looking at the door or temple, but here he clears this for himself. So Dunk has before going out decided what he will clear and what his teammate has to clear for him. And then he walks back to get a better angle to when he now swings for door. And then walks back again, clears backside and finds a crucial kill. Electronic is next. Let's see how he entries. Something as entry you need to understand, that is your gun versus the CT's gun. What does this mean? If you are trying to take a site versus an AWP, you should never crouch peek or shift walk, since the AWP will just kill you. And the pistol round are a perfect way of learning this, since the Glock versus USPS fight is a good way to learning these fundamentals. The Glock allows you more run and gun playstyle with 20 bullets, while the USPS are better for long range fights. Since C9 already has a player coming short, Electronic is only clearing site and bench with this route and make sure he's moving at all times to force the CTs to try to hit him, a moving target, while the Glock is quite good when it comes to the run and gun accuracy, and it just makes it harder for the USPS to try to get these kills. And after clearing site, he knows he should not overpeak into a USPS holding market, and he rather waits and creates this favorable angle to market for the Glock. A perfect way of understanding the guns you are playing against the entry, the position your teammates will have, and what you need to clear, and not peek and lose the advantage. This is an interesting way of entering site. As we can see, he will not be the first out, but he will still play a crucial role to the entry. He starts by flashing under palace to hit a player there and site if needed, while one player is running under stairs with one goal to make sure sandwich is clear, and then to peek on a jungle, while Electronic's entry is all based on himself first clearing top stairs for his entry and jungle, before he swings out and get the entry and trade from site, since these players should be occupied with the maniac running under stairs. And Electronic here finds this player and has no need to stay longer, since the rest of his team is able to get the kills and site control. And Electronic will just wait out. Again, a perfect way of seeing him not overpeaking. When it comes to entry-fragging, understanding mistakes are very hard to do, since as an entry you can die with no kills and still create the space needed. But we will go into a demo and I wanted to show some clear mistakes and how to fix them from a pro player named Art. And remember, as an entry you need to make space, help take site, so if an entry can't achieve any of this, you have done a mistake. Here Furry are playing a super slow start by having one player in con, 2 in water and 2 in monster. The goal is to eventually go B, but you want to wait it out in case the CT is overpeeking to you. And here we are seeing Art being super active, holding for a boost, going back to help monster and more. So where is the mistake? Well, when Art and his 2 other teammates on short are going out, Art's goal is to create space for his team. And here he peeks out on short, and he peeks in a way where monster player can't kill him, but any side player and water player can. And by doing this, he needs to make sure he have teammates able to trade him. But if we go bird's eye view on this, we can see he's alone going on this side. And all the jiggling he did blocks his teammate, so he set himself up not to be tradable in this round. But again, it's hard to say if this was very bad, since he still created an opening for the monster player, you might say, but the opening came more from the 2 players coming from short and not Art taking attention away. Since he went to the side of short, monster player couldn't deal with him and had to go back and hold. Let's break down these slow entries that have been very popular for many entryfragger. It's a way to deal with all of the uncertainty of entryfragging, to rather play it slow. Get to site and clear some angles before trying to entry. So how do Furia do this? Well, Art is back to monster, a great spot for finding the first kill. And here Aurora throws the default monster smoke and Art uses a nade to break the smoke. As well as when walking out, He walks into the Molotov before it has stopped to burn, since as soon as the middle flame, the tall one, disappear, you can walk into it without taking damage, even though it still shows the animation. And here he uses this smoke as cover to walk up towards jail and try to find an opening kill. And I love this, but there's one problem. With the demo, we looked at these entryfraggers, made sure they have a player close. Well, do Art have any players close? No, the closest players is still in Monster Tunnel. So when Art swings, if he cannot get the first kill, he will die and not be traded. Art clears everything but whiffs the Galil spray, and I don't know why the Galil looks like this in the first round we looked at. And here he's not traded fast enough. I loved how Furia did this. Art waited for the smoke to disappear since this allows the monster player to help him rather fast, but since the player is deeper towards short, this has no effect. I think this round is not too bad, but this is a clear sign of an entry not creating enough space. Furia are going for the B split with 3 in monster and 2 on short, and here Art again is the first player out, but he goes to jail and stays. And this is the same mistake a lot of entryfraggers do when playing Mirage. They walk out on A from ramp and goes to Tetris and hides there. And here you can't get any openings, and he decides to hold the smoke. But as the entry, he should be walking up towards site on the flashes, and let any of the other players coming from monster hold the smoke. But here Art stays and dies. And we can tell this is the reason Furia loses the round, since there are so many players going out. But since the monster players has not gotten any map control on site, all of the players pushing will have a harder time trying to entry and getting site control. I wanted to end this by showing you guys some solo entries you can do. But I want to show you the early banana play you can do and how it looks. When holding banana, the CTs will have one player on the corner and one on car. So this play is done to abuse this. I start by molotoving car, forcing the car player away. Then I nade the corner to force the player there away. And the nade is thrown deeper to try to hit the players running away that already start to run away from the molotov. And then I use the molotov to allow myself to walk through it and go for the entry. And here I spot the player jumping away. So now I know I have to be fast to catch this player. And here running through the molotov and to site, I'm able to win the 1v1, but loses the fight to the CT player. If I had one more player with me, we will win this round 95% of the time. Now let's go over to nuke. Here I have 2 of my favorite plays to make. The first is door play. And this can be done in so many ways, so I will show you 2 plays I did and break down the most informative of these. One close to me. Let's talk about the early door push play to get out. Here I start the round by nading like this. Only do this with the best spawn, since then you will be before the A main player and not be hit too much by the molotov the CT throw. And here when running out I will break the vents, but I decide to rather stay here between the door and vent, so I will not get spammed. And here is just a waiting game. I will hide here, the enemy think I jumped down, and I can find 1 kill for free walking up on hut trying to find me. The other play is the ROPS play, as it's called. Maybe now we call it the twist play after what he did to Navi, but it's the same concept. But ROPS is a little bit faster, so I'm gonna call it the ROPS play. This play is all based around being too fast for the CTs. And here's the play. Go A guys, I opened up A for you, open up A. So what is the goal? The goal is to be able to get top of main before the garage player can peek and kill you. And this is done by taking this route I took. And not jumping from silo to top main, but rather dropping down with enough speed so you won't fail it. And here you need to be confident. With this route the main player can hear you, so you need to focus him. And he will be the only player that can deal with you. And when you land onto main, and he will be the only player that can deal with you after you land onto top main. And here I swing down and find 2 kills. And after this, don't stop there. Just try to get more kills in space, since you're in a very untradable spot. Last map I want to show one last play on is Anubis. And here these entries are plays you can do, since these are all based around default executes. But in all of these games where we're a 5 stacks, you know, we have more team coordination. So this play starts from the default B split.
Jeg breaker smoken. Breaker smoken der.
Vi går på dette.
Jeg er der.
I'm jail.
Jail er død.
Swing it.
Alles.
Döda. Where you will have 2 players in middle who drops water, while 3 players in B main walks out. And here, if you remember the dunk demo we looked at, this is very similar to how he does these entries. We drop down to water as soon as our teammates are using utility towards B site. And here I'm the second entry out, and the goal is for us two to win con control and backside. And you can see how we does this here. The first out will kill Jail, I will hold for the trade and swing. And then when going out, he will clear left side, while I will have to trade no matter where on the right side he might die. And here I find the trade rather quickly, and just like that, we have sight and a man advantage. Well, that were the ultimate guide on how to be a better entryfragger. If you want to see a different role and this video does good, I would love to do more. And for everyone who still stayed, thanks for watching and have a nice day.